Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new session with Code with Sally. I'm happy to be back after the summer break. I'm happy to have everyone today with me and everyone who's watching the video. I'm happy to be back. And we have exciting sessions and topics that we would love to cover together. So stay tuned and follow the updates of the channel and the page on LinkedIn. For anyone who's joining for the first time, you can follow Code with Sally YouTube channel. And you can see we have different playlists. Some of them are specifically for beginners if you're just starting. Some of them are for the intermediate series level that we are currently working on. So don't worry if you are starting, you can keep up, you can join even the sessions. You can ask your questions and I will try to do my best to help you with the answers that make it easier for you to follow up. So don't feel shy to join. And anytime you open a playlist, my advice for you is to sort it from oldest to newest. Usually that's the default sorting I am choosing, but in case you change it, because usually you will find that the older topics first and the newest will be the last. And the reason why is my strategy in the sessions is usually to give you bits and pieces. We start with the topic in an easy way, understand it, and then build on top of that. So that's why I would recommend that you don't skip part one and go to part three, for example. Go one, two, and then three. And my apologies if my voice is not very clear. I'm sick. I didn't want to cancel the session, so bear with me, and hopefully you can hear me well. If there is any issues or you cannot hear me very well, please let me know in the chat and I'll try to repeat what I'm saying. And hopefully it will be a good session for everyone and we can learn all together. So the topic for today is still we are working on the invocable methods. The invocable methods we covered quite a bit so far. You'll find in the intermediate series as well. Here we have like two videos so far for the invocable methods. I encourage you, if you don't know invocable methods or you want to refresh, start there and continue with this video after, because we explain what are invocable methods, from where we can call them, what's the syntax. We learn together the input and output, and then we started first using record trigger flows to understand why invocable methods must have an input of a list and bulkification. And then we moved to more exploration last time using auto launch flows to understand how we can, if the purpose from the flow to pass, for example, a list of string, how we pass it and still um, respect the rule of bulkification for invocable methods, or a wrapper class. And we talk together that we prefer using wrapper classes. And we explored why and how we can add certain tags to the parameters to have a better label or make it required so to have more controls. So again, don't worry, all of that is covered in the previous two videos. So if you missed them, please go ahead and check it. Today, before the break, we gave a challenge as a homework for you to try and implement it on your own. I don't know if anyone checking the chat, let me know in the chat if you can tell me any of you got the chance to implement it or not. And if not, don't worry, we'll go step by step together today and build it. And if someone built it as well, it would be a good chance to compare the solution I have with the way you did it, because in IT, there is no just one correct solution and everything is wrong. There is different ways, and we can explore the benefit or the pros and cons for each solution. So as a refresher, what we are trying to do, or what was the homework or the challenge, was to build something like that. We want to build a screen flow where you can enter, for example, multiple countries, Egypt, and after that, for example, we can hit next. And that before we worked together and we built a callout utility to get country details. It's a public API and it's available for anyone to use it. And to get the response from the API and to display it on a ScreenFlow data table as we have here now. Um, I don't know if anyone is not very familiar with APIs. For now, you can go to the second video in the intermediate series. This is where we discussed a little more in details the API, the JSON, what it means, and we built the HTTP request and the callout utility that we are gonna use today. So today we won't be explaining the API again. We will just take a quick look and we'll use it in a ScreenFlow. If anyone along the way has a question, let me know. Let's explore. So the benefit of this is that we want to showcase the request or the requirement is that from the flow, we have a repeater. We saw that we want to take multiple input and we'll be passing it to an invocable method. So that invocable method should accept a list of strings, or the flow should be able to send a list of strings to the invocable method. And we want to build this invocable method together. We want to see if in real projects you have a callout utility. For example, we used it before in Trigger or in asynchronous Apex. Now we want to use it as well from the flow. We don't want to build it in a different way or build a new one. We want to reuse what we have. So you have only one callout utility and you call it from a trigger through asynchronous Apex, or you call it from a flow through invocable methods. So it's possible to reuse it. So that's something as well we'll learn along the way today. And something interesting, we want to see how we can return the wrapper classes or custom Apex class from the invocable method and how the flow can render it in data table. The good thing that the way we will do it today is not the only way to do it. There is something new coming in winter 26 that will allow you to use it or do it in an easy, faster way. So we'll see it today as of summer 25, how you can do it. But I will point to you as well what is coming in winter 26 and how you can use it. I just created a pre-release org before the session. The pre-release orgs for winter 26 are available starting from today. I have been trying since the morning to get access to it so I can show you the new way directly, but I wasn't able to. I just was able to create it before the session, like 5 minutes before. So unfortunately, I won't be able to show it to you, the whole demo in the new org. But what I will do, it depends on the time. If we have time at the end, we'll play together in the new org and see it live. If not, I will record an offline video for you to see how we can do it easier, or there is no need for the transformation we are using in the flow currently to be able to use an Apex and display it in data table. So we'll see how it goes. That's the tricky part because it was just available today and I knew about it recently. So we'll learn as of summer 25 and we'll see if we can show in the session what is coming in winter 26 and how you can do it, or we'll leave it for the offline video. Let's start together and we'll go through it piece by piece and slowly. If anyone please have a question, please stop me and ask it. It's very important to be all on the same page. For anyone who missed the sessions, the previous sessions for the intermediate and didn't go through the HTTP request, I want to show you what we are trying to implement. So I will open my Postman. Postman, again, quick refresher, it's a tool where you can test API requests and build a collection. And even when you are building your own custom APIs, you can have a collection and share it with your team so they can see what are the API options you are offering to them, and they can test it or play with it and see what are the parameters or what the expected response. So as I said, like REST countries is a public API, so that's the one that we are gonna use. It doesn't have an API that or a version that accept multiple countries at the same time. So we'll have to call it if from the flow we have three countries entered, it will have to be called one by one for each country and to get the values. So this is just a sample on Postman. And later on, when we move to the API topic, I will try to explain it more in depth. But here, the API is an endpoint, a URL we are using. It's a get operation. We are getting details, and it expects the country name as a parameter in the URL itself. And there is no authentication. It's public, so you click send. That goes and call the API and get the response for you. So we knew that it passed because it's getting the 200 and returning okay. And then it returned a big JSON. They are returning a lot of details about it, different, in different languages, the translation for Canada. So I speak Arabic, so this is Canada in Arabic, and the language, different details. So we'll be picking and choosing some of those details and using them in our sample today in the code, but this is the response. What we did before um, class here, the utility, we give it a name. Will be returning country wrapper. Country wrapper is a representation for the JSON that is coming from the response that we have here. We created a class to match the variable names and the structure. There was a tool in the past that you give it a JSON and convert this and give you the class. Like a month, 2, 3, 4 months ago, it stopped working. So that's something, for example, you can give a JSON sample to an LLM or like ChatGPT or any other like AI tools you're using, or Salesforce developers, Agentforce for developers within the Visual Studio Code, and it can give you the class. So that's a good way to utilize in a good way the AI. It can generate for you this class. So here, this is a very big class, and it will be shared with you in GitHub after the session, just the representation for the JSON. And that's something we built before when we worked on the asynchronous Apex. And what we did as well at the time, we created an HTTP request. So we give the endpoint. The endpoint is the same that we have, like we want to simulate what we did in the Postman. As a quick like refresher. So here we have the URL. We are preparing the URL for the request that we will be sending. We are passing the country name as a string concatenation here to form the full URL. Here we said the operation is get, so we have to define that the method we are interested in is get. And then we'll be sending the request to get the response. And we saw together in Postman when the response was successful is 200. So that's why I'm checking if it's 200. And then we are parsing the response, the JSON, and getting the results in a country wrapper. And that's to take the JSON that is coming and get to the class with the properties corresponding to this JSON. So all of that is not supposedly not new for you. We did it in depth in another session. And don't worry, we'll cover APIs in a separate series on its own. But for now, this is something we have. You have it in your org and you want to use it in your the flows. So the flows cannot access a regular class like this directly. The flow will be able to access or execute invocable methods only. So that's what we want to try and implement first now together, the invocable class and method that we'll be using in our code or in our flow later on in the session. So I prepared a class here called get countries details action. You give the class the name you want. Before proceeding and start implementing that, anyone has a question for me? Okay, I don't see questions in the chat, so I think we are good so far. So let's start and implement the class. I will have here. And the first step we will do, if you don't remember, we said like we want to have input wrapper class and we want to have an output wrapper class. We said it's cleaner, and that's what we covered in the last session when we were working with the auto launch flows. We said you can have an input parameter for the invocable method as a list of strings if you want to pass a list of strings. And we said maybe this is to be readable more or easier to maintain. Let's rely on the input parameter to be a wrapper class. And we saw the benefit for that you can, while using invocable variables, you can specify what's the label for this value to be more user-friendly. You can have a description, you can set it as required. So that's what we will do here. And the method definition. So that's in general, when you start an invocable method or a class, to include one invocable method maximum, you cannot have more. You will have the method definition, input wrapper, and output wrapper. So let me give it a name for the input wrapper. For example, I can have it as country request. I'm just getting the same name I will have for you in GitHub. So it's the same what we are doing here. And for the output, maybe we'll create a class called country detail result. So I will create them as empty classes for now. And then I go for my method and I create my signature. And the method signature, we agreed it has to be static, it has to be public or global. And then what it will return. If you remember, we said, I want, for example, a method to return country details. Return country details. Or let me get the name here. And input, we want to have input the country request. And we said, like, when you do that, you have to put at the beginning a list, because we said together, let me get you the slide here to refresh your memory. We said together, the first list will always be the list for bulkification. Invocable method can be called by your screen flow. It can be called by a record trigger flow. So Salesforce doesn't know where it will be called from. So it has to assume the worst or like the hardest path where it will be called from the record, and it allow bulkification. So if you want to pass an ID, you have to put a list of ID. Same, if you want to pass a list of string, it has to be a list of string. And that's what we ended up with last time. We said better, instead of having list or list of cases, let's make it a list of custom Apex type and have the list of string or list of case within the wrapper. So that's what we are trying to do now. So I want to pass country request, but I have to add on top of it a list first for the bulkification. And the same, I have to return a list of the country result. What do we want to do? I want for the request to be able to pass a list of strings. Why? Because I'll be passing here, collecting the values that we are entering here, the country names, and I want to collect those and pass a list of string. So I want to visualize that I want this as an input parameter or allow my invocable method to accept a list of strings. So in order to do that, we'll have to add here public list of country names. So I will do a public list string. Is that correct the way I'm doing? No, because in order to be able to use this as an input for the invocable method from the flow, I have to add on top of it that it is invocable variable. I give it a name, country names, and we said that's a benefit of using this technique because you can specify a label. Because otherwise, the user will see on the screen that I want to pass LST country names. They may be confused. I want to make it country names more readable and more user-friendly, and we said it's required. For the result, what I want to return, we want to return the country wrapper for each country that we are passing, but I feel that this is a huge values to return, so we can have here is more simplified one, just picking the values out of this huge class, what we want to return. So I will have here, for each country, I will have a country detail where it says the country name, region, capital, flag, URL, and so on. And for the result, we'll be returning a list of that. So same here. We are passing a list of string, but string is already defined by Salesforce. We didn't need to create our own custom class. Here, I want to return a component or a class that has country name, region, capital, flag, and URL. So we defined our class, and this is the class that I'm returning in my list here. Is that clear so far? Anyone has a question so far? We didn't implement the logic at all yet. We just defined what is my input wrapper. Yeah, it's giving at me an error because I didn't return the list here. But we created the method definition or the signature. I prepared my input wrapper and my output wrapper. So I have like the template that I would be working with. Now we want to implement the logic. So for the logic, let me get the code for you. We'll be reusing what we just implemented for the utility. So what we will do is, I will have here the bug statement for you to be able to see how many requests. And we did that last time to showcase when we were working or the session number 1 in Invocable Method, because we wanted to see when we had in the record trigger and we tried to insert or update multiple records at once, it was bulkified. So here I'm preparing the bulkified result because that's what we want to return. And then for each request, I'll be dealing on it with it on its own. So each request will have a list of strings. So that's what we will be doing. For each request, we will be returning a country detail result that will have the details. So here I'm preparing the result, and then I will implement together now the get country. It will take the names, the list of names, and it should return for me the list of country details here. So let's do this together, the country details. So this one, it can be a private method because it's within, no one will be executing or calling it. Or if you want to have like this as a utility, another helper class, and you will be reusing it across different codes, you can have this in a separate class. So here we are defining a method that will work with those country names. So I have a list of country names and I will return a list of country details. So this is easier to understand because I will pass a list of country names, and for each of those country names, I will be returning a country detail. So This is to handle the list of names in each request. In our case, the request will be only one. Like some people sometimes, instead of doing this for loop to make it less confusing, or they prefer not to do that, sometimes they remove this for loop and use instead requests of 0. But I read somewhere in Salesforce documentation, it's always better to assume that maybe it can be called this invocable method from a trigger or from somewhere else where it will have bulkification. So it's better to do this for loop. But if you are 100% sure and you guarantee that it will never be called from a record trigger, you can eliminate this for loop and just instead of request object, you can use it here outside the for loop and have it as requests of 0. That's really up to you. You'll see this a lot. Some people always do that. They don't do the for loop because they are confident it's only always one value and it will never be used from a record trigger flow. Now we have the list of country names. What we should be doing is we should be getting the values from the utility we have and building the list of country details or the results that is coming. So what we can do is, as an extra check first, we can check that the country names is not empty. Otherwise, you can skip all the logic. You don't need to code the API and return an empty list. But if we have, you can have a for loop and you can have it as follows. Let me get the code for you. And the reason why I'm getting the code is because the main focus for us is building the flow together and seeing how we can use the invocable method with them. But I'm happy to stop anytime for anyone who has any question about them, and we can go through it together.
So
Yes,
my
Connor.
question, your is empty. So does that equate to spaces?
Sorry, which one?
When you uh, on your is empty, when you're trying to determine whether there's any values there,
Yeah,
you're checking for null, and then you have is empty. And I'm asking, does that cover if there are spaces there?
this is if, for example, the list of name. Let me show you quickly the difference. Let me open developer console. So if you have this now, if I say if list countries dot is empty, this one will give you an error. System dot debug, checking empty. And the reason why, because list of countries at this time, we didn't initialize it. So it will tell you that there is a temp to use a null reference. So this one is null, and we are trying to call a method for it. So it's causing an error. But if you do an initialization like that, that means this one will be is empty true, and it will give you an error. It will print the debug statement. So it didn't give an error. So the reason why I'm adding here just the null, because if I'm checking this is empty and it's passed as a null value, it's not initialized list, it will give me an exception.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so what we are doing here, what we did is we did this extra check. We're returning the list of country details as empty. Then we are trying to loop for the names one by one. And the reason why is because our utility just accept one country name at a time. So we are checking if it's not empty, if it's empty. So we skip this string and go to the next one. Um, and here we are trying to call the API. We have it in a try and catch just in case the API is down or there is issues. So what we are trying to do here, we are calling country callout utility. We said a utility is a class, and when it has a static method, that means it will be called from the class name. So that's what we are doing here. We are doing the callout utility dot get country name, and we are passing this country name, the first one or the second, one by one. And that will return the country values. And now I have the country values. I want to change it and have it in the country details we have. So what I would do here, I create a country details object, and then I go set from the country wrapper one by one the capital. And remember, the country wrapper is having so many details more than what we have. And that's why we chose to create like more of a simplified version for the flow to return it rather than returning country wrapper as a huge class. So it's really up to you. You won't always have this, but this is like sometimes you can choose to return the country wrapper altogether. For me, I just chose to make it simple. So I chose capital region, flag URL, map URL, and country name. And after that, we have now the details of this current country that we are looping through. We have to return it or add it to the list of country details. So I will add it to the list of country detail. We are returning the country detail object. So that will go, what will happen is when we call from the flow, the invocable method, it will pass the list of strings. It will go through here. We will have only one request because we are calling from the screen flow. So it will call country details like this one will be executed only once. For this one, it will be called. It will loop through the strings. So if the flow will be passing 2, it will run 2 times. If it's 5, it will run 5 times. And what will happen is that for each of them, we are using an existing utility to get the country details. So this is kind of to give you an idea, like country utility, if I even search now in my current project, you'll find that we used it in batch. We used it in a trigger helper. We called it in multiple spots. So it's just to give you an idea, when we write a code with a mindset, it can be reused somewhere else. It saves you a lot of rework and a lot of like rewriting the code or duplicating the code over and over again. So this is what we are doing here. We are reusing something we built in the past and we have been using it somewhere else. We just wrap this within an invocable method because we agreed before the flow won't be able to execute the country callout utility directly. It can't. The same as when we want to use the callout utility from a trigger, we can't call out directly from a trigger. You have to do it in asynchronous apex and call the asynchronous apex from the trigger. So it gives you a good structure for your code and it's reusable. So if any, like we add a username and password. We add any tweaks to the bud request, how to pass it, or how to handle the response, or add extra parameters, remove values. It's controllable within the country callout utility, and then we are reusing it in other places. So now we have created and prepared our invocable method, and we are ready to start our flow. Let's start the flow together. Let me go to my org, and I will be sharing the flow as well. in GitHub. So you can, if you, all you have to do, and I'll be sharing this in the flow in GitHub as well, is the custom object with its custom page layout. You will have this like in your org and you can use it. Let's go. We'll create a new flow. And here we are working with screen flows. So first, let me refresh your memory. We refresh the page. So here we want to build the first screen we see here, where you can enter one or multiple country names, and that's what we'll do first. So for the first screen, I will add here from the elements screen, and it's very like critical now with the AI era to be very mindful with like description, labels, API names, like always use meaningful values. Country entry screen, for example, here. And you can always get into the habit to enter descriptions as well. For the sake of the demo and time, I'll be skipping on the descriptions for now. And within our like the first screen, what do we want to be able to do? We want to be able to add more than one text. Like I don't know if the user want 3 or 2 or 10. So that's why we won't be adding just drag and drop input text. We want to be able the user to enter more than one up to them. So I will add a repeater. A repeater is a component available for us to be used. And I will give it a name, for example, here, country repeater. So now we have a repeater, but the repeater, it tells Salesforce that you can repeat something more than once. We want to add, what do we want to repeat? Is it a checkbox? Is it's a text? So that our next step, we'll add here a text. So I want to be able to repeat more than once a text. So here, what this text represent, I will give it a label, country name. We'll be entering country name, multiple country names. So this is just to do what we have here, this screen, just to be able to enter and remove as much as I want from the country names here and to be dynamic. So here I'm done with the first screen. We are ready to move to calling the action. The action, I want to prepare the list of strings for it. Like I want to be able to say, those are the list of country. So the user will be entering multiple based on their usage here. And we want to take the values we have in the repeater that the user is entering and convert it to a list of strings. So to be able to convert it to a list of string, we'll be saving that in a variable. So let's prepare our resource. And for me, as a developer, I think of the resource as a variable. So I will have here a variable. I can give it here list of country names. Again, description is recommended. Each of them is a text. This variable will allow multiple values. And now I have my list where I want to keep adding the country names to it ready, but it doesn't have the values. We have to loop through the repeater values and take each value the user entered in the repeater and add it to the list of string we created. So here, as if I created list of country names and created this as an empty list. Now we want to go through the repeater and add one by one to my empty list. So here, what we'll do a loop as we do with development coding. When we say we want to go through one by one, it's usually we want to do a for loop. So here we'll do a loop as well. So here, loop country names. And what are we looping through? We are looping through country repeater, and the added values. So we are looping through the country values that were added in the repeater. And for each one of them, we want to do what we were always doing here, list of country names. We do add and we say Egypt, for example, when we want to add. We want to do the same on the flow. So what we'll be doing here, we'll do assignment and add country name. We'll give it the label. And I will say here, I want the variable that I want to add the value to is the list of country names. And I will say add, the same as how we are doing it in code. And I will say here, I want to add the current loop item, and I want to add the country name for it. So that what will do the trick for me. Let me save this for now. And I will say here, get country details English. And so far, this is what we did. We created the first screen. We looped through the repeater. We added to the list the country names. What's next? Now I have everything ready to be able to call my action. So that's what we want to do now. To do the action we saw before in the record trigger, the auto launch, you choose action. And if you remember here, when we create this, sorry, we forgot very important thing. We won't be able to see this. Let's see, like if I try to find get countries details, I won't be able to see it. I will get other stuff. Those are old methods I have. The reason why we forgot a very important step when we are working on this, we didn't add that it's an invocable method. So we have to add this line at the top to say that it's an invocable method, give it a label, a description, and I want to add this in a custom, I can have it here, English custom Apex actions. And I'm just adding English because I will have the Arabic session tomorrow. So to be able to differentiate between the two. So here I have English custom Apex action. And let's refresh. I will save and refresh. Let's go here to the action. I have here now English custom Apex actions, and I have the get country details. I say here, get country details action. And see here, we see country names, and that's coming from the input wrapper, the label we have here. And it shows red asterisks because we have the invocable variable as required. So here I will choose that I want to use the list of country names. So I'll be passing the list of country names that we used. And the reason why we have to do this, if you try repeater, country repeater, for example, country repeater, and someone will say, I will use the added item directly, it will give you an error that the data type is not compatible. It doesn't feel that it's a list of string to be able to pass it. So that's why we did the for loop and we added those values in the repeater to a list of string to be able to pass it. So now I'm ready. I handled the input. I need to put the output in another resource as well. So let's prepare a resource. Let me save till this point. And I'll go to resources. What type of resource? It's a variable because it's not a constant, it's not a formula. And I will say here, list of country details, because that's what we are expecting to return. We are expecting to return the details of the country details from the API. So what we can do here, I will choose apex defined. It's not the text, it's not a record, it's not a number or currency, it's an apex defined type. And here it allows me to choose which apex class is returning. And that's something we have to go and fix. Because if you see here, if I try country, I will see something called country response detail. That's something I was testing before. It's not related to us. Or in simplified country wrapper. I cannot see country details that we are interested in or country details result. And you will, if you hover here on the information, it will tell you that it has to be an Aura enabled. Like the fields has to be Aura enabled. And for that reason, like if you try here, I'm sorry, add the flag that they are Aura enabled. And if you try now, let's go to resource and do variable, list country details, and I do apex country. Still, I cannot see it. So what can we do to be able to see it? We can do is that I will comment this one and we'll move it to be a top level class. Top level class means it's not a subclass. So I have this prepared for you. It's called simplified country wrapper. It has here the same parameters, same everything, capital, region, flag URL, map URL. So instead of having this as a subclass here, subclass means it's a class within the get country details class. I'll make it top level class with the same invocable variables or enabled everything. But we have to update our code because our code is using country details right now. So we have to move and use simplified country wrapper. Conrad, do you have a question?
Well, your commented out isn't correct. You need an
Ah,
asterisk.
right. Thank you. Okay, so I have here replaced the country details to the new class name, simplified. We have to do as well everywhere. So here I will do this instead of the this one. We'll replace it with this line that we are creating a constructor. We are passing the country wrapper and it will return the simplified country wrapper instead. Same here. We'll comment these two lines. And where else do we have it here? And here we missed an else statement because what if it's not the country values or the country like we couldn't find this country and it's not available. We did a typo or wrong value, so we can have an else to return just the country name. So let's save this. So all what we didn't change too much. We just removed, let's see what's the error. Country details. So 50, line 50. Country details. Did I miss something? Let me deploy again. Value does not exist. Let's see. Let me go. Invalid type country detail. Oh, okay. So this one, we forgot to change the definition of the variable to use the simplified country wrapper. I was sure that I missed something. So let's move this to be the new one. And let's say it should be, and this one as well. don't have this class anymore. Let's deploy. And now we have it saved, no issues. So let's go back and I refresh and we'll create this resource now to be ready to put the result in it. So I create a resource. It's a variable. I give the name country details. And it's apex defined. It's a list. And it will be of type simplified country wrapper. So we will set the value. We created the variable, but we want to, in the action here, to say, okay, I want to assign this to variable, manually assign, and the countries that are the result. Again, this is coming from the result. I have invocable variable. I give it the label, it's countries. So it's showing that this is the result. Where do you want to put it? It allows me to choose now the list of country details. So I prepared the variable or the list of the same data type that will take the result in. So now we have this. What we want to do, or the last step that we need to work on, is showing the data table. And the data table, up to summer 2025, just can work with records in Salesforce. So let me create the screen for you and show you what I mean. So here, and we can name it country details display, and we'll add a data table. Data table is a like type that you can have here in the screen flow at country details. Country details. Okay, so this is the API name, and I can here a country details. And then it's saying like, where am I getting the details from? What we would expect that we should be able to use the list of country details that we just created, but it doesn't allow this. Like I cannot select it. So as of today, we are not able to do that. So that's why um, like as a workaround up to summer 2025, we had to create LWC and display it, or we are lucky here, the response that is coming, I have a matching object for it. Like we have an object called country, and that's because in other like sessions, we had to use this object. It's country. It has the same fields, capital, flag URL, map URL, region. So we can transform the list of country details we have from the Apex to be a list of like records of country. So that's what we will do. There is a transform element in the flows. We can do that for. So transformed countries. And the source will be my list of country details, the apex defined. And the target will be, I want to be a record, that multiple record of type country. So I will create this and map the values. So I'm getting capital. I want to map it to which field in the country. So I will do that. The capital, will map it to capital. Country name, we will map it to the name. Flag URL, we do it to the flag URL. Map URL, it's here. Yeah. Map URL. Region, we'll do it to the region. So again, we were lucky because we have a similar object that we can use. So here I did the transformation. Now we can create our last screen and use this in it. So let's do the screen, and here country details display. And I think we'll go a bit over today. I hope it's okay with everyone. We'll go here, data table, country details. Sorry, last time I did that. Country details. And now when I go to the data source, it will allow me to use the transformed countries from the transformer element that we just put. Now we want to add the columns. The columns, I believe we have in order country name. So we can have here country name, done. Add column. We want capital, done. Okay, we can add the rest. Sorry, here, columns, country name, capital, done. And flag URL, done. Map URL, done. And region. So we are adding the columns that we want, and I do done. So let's try it together. I will save and activate. And let's go to our home page here. I will edit the page and add it below it so we can see if it's working as well. I choose here flow, put it here, and then I will choose my flow, English, get country details English here, and I will save. Let's go back and see it together. Here I have Egypt, Canada, and click next. So yeah, it's working. We have the country name, the capital, the flag URL, map URL, and region. Just heads up, what we did here with the transformation in order to display it in the data table, I think it will go away with winter 2026. There is an announcement that we can allow and use apex defined in the data table directly, which will be a huge thing and important, and it can replace what we did with the transform, especially if you didn't have this an object to match the structure coming back from the API. In our case, I was lucky I had it, so we used it. But if we didn't have it, the only way was to have an LWC. So now the announcement is that it will allow it. As I mentioned earlier in the session, there is a pre-release orgs available starting from today. I tried my best since the morning before the session to get my hands on one before to be able to demonstrate it with the new functionality, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. I was able to get to use the to get like access to a pre-release org before the session, like 5 minutes before the session. So what I would do is offline, I will move my object and my API, my logic to the new org, and I will record offline video um, as a test that we can use the apex define directly from the data table, and that there is no need for the transformation anymore. And I will record it and post it on YouTube, and I will let you know if you are interested to watch it. So stay tuned. I will do my best to do this as soon as possible. I'm super excited to test it myself, so we'll see how it goes. There is a question in the chat asking, I believe, what is the category here in the invocable method? The category here, the benefit of it is when you go to action, you will see here some like folders or like organization. So what we did here is we give like underscore English custom Apex action. It gave us this folder. So it's more way of organizing and it's easier way for you to go and access your invocable method directly. So maybe you can have custom Apex action. Maybe some of them are related to accounts. So you can have account custom actions versus contact actions. Like it's easier way for you and it's way for you to organize. Otherwise, you will have all the actions listed here all together. So that's the benefit of the category.
Can we have a subcategory? Is there a subcategory for that? Like, for example, that English custom matrix action, say we want to have something as a sub of it. Is that possible?
I don't think so. Let me take you quickly to, let's search together quickly. So Invocable Method has some flags that you can have based on the documentation. I didn't see a subcategory. Let's see here. So you can have a label, description, callout, capability type, category, configuration editor, icon name. So I don't see a subcategory, so I don't think it's possible. I think it's maybe instead of like if you have account versus contact versus combine two objects, like you can come up with the naming convention and like split your actions accordingly based on that on the category. Like you don't have to have English and then subcategories. For me, I just did that, so it's easier for me to find it during the session. And because tomorrow I have the Arabic session, I want to make sure I'm not choosing the one we did for the English. I want to choose the one for the Arabic. Conrad, do you have a question, right?
Yeah. So this is more about, well, to tell you the truth, I am challenged by how to manipulate data on the screen. So right now, you created that repeating object where you can add the country, and
Correct.
then displays the data. You go through the flow, and it displays the data underneath.
Correct.
So this is foreign to me. In my mind, and what my experience is, you enter a list of countries uh, that you want information on. You go through your process, and then the screen would display, what the description or whatever information you have next to the country, and it would all be formatted cleanly in a table, and everything is right there where you can see it, reading left to right as far as being English. So what my question is, I mean, you created this, like you knew about the repeater action, and then how to display it underneath. My question is, where did you gather this technique? Was it just by chance or trial and error, or is there some documentation somewhere that I don't know about how to make a good Salesforce interface?
I will tell you, like, what I did is I'm not an expert in flows, to be honest. Like, a hardcore developer more than an admin or points and clicks. I know we have to think and change even my mindset to be like go for like point and clicks and flows first, but I'm still more leaning towards development. So what I did, and to be 100% honest with you, I met with Bassem. He also runs Yalla Salesforce sessions. He is more into points and clicks than development, and he always work like heavily with the flows. So what I told him, like I want to do a screen flow because we are doing the invocable methods and I want to display how we can use the invocable methods in screen flow as well. So I told him like I have this API, I want to do this UI. Like I told him like I want a way to enter multiple country names and then click retrieve or next or whatever, and then display the result from the API. So it's a mix that I have. If I had to visualize first how the UI I want it to be, or what's the experience I want to give to the end user. So you always have to visualize it. And then after you visualize it, you have to find the right tool. And this is where Bassem helped me a lot because he is more experienced in flows. So he told me like, okay, you can use the repeater, and you want multiple texts. So you can have a repeater to have the multiple text. So we don't have like the other way you could do it. You can limit 3 countries at a time and you can have 3 texts. I wanted dynamic. So my requirement helped him suggest what I want. Otherwise, we could have like country 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 text boxes, and that's it. And I told him I want to display it in a text in a table. And that's where he said like, okay, we can use the data table for that. And we worked together hand to hand, like mixing my development with his flow experience. And we came up with this UI at the end. But in general, in any project, you have to visualize as an end user how you want it to display to them, or what's the experience you want to give to them, because you want less points and clicks, less steps, clean UI, if you have a requirement for dynamic. So that's part of it. The second part is, I believe, the more you will have hands-on on flows, the more you will have knowledge of like the palette and what you have here. Like, I know it's expanding and they are adding more, but at the end, like action, subflow, you have a logic, decision, sorry, loop, transformation, and so on. So the more you will have hands-on with each of those and understand it more, you'll know that it exists. So that will help you with the decision, what's the best way to give the UI. And I would encourage everyone as well, like follow Yellow Salesforce channel on YouTube and LinkedIn. He ran an English session every Thursday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, and he ran Arabic sessions as well on Saturdays. And he does the same, like he has the recording for the session. So it may be useful for you in terms of points and clicks and configuration, not heavy on coding, to follow and see if there is topics you want, send him or join the session and ask questions. But this is how I learned about it. Like it's a mix of my experience on flows, mix of talking with someone more in depth in the flows and playing with the components we have here. And also based on the experience on what the UI I want to show to the user, because my requirement would dictate what elements we can use. Make sense?
Yes, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And there is a lot of Trailhead, like say Yalla Salesforce and Bassem goes through a lot of Trailhead modules for the flows. So there is a lot, and I believe the more you will work on them and or attend the session, whichever way is better for you, you will learn about them. And as well, keep an eye because Salesforce is always enhancing flows. And that's why, for example, I knew about like in 2026, we may not need the transformer at all and just use the apex defined value directly. And that's what I will try to, I hope to demonstrate it in the session, but I didn't get hands on like the pre-release org early enough to be able to do it. So I will record it offline and share it with you so you can see it as well with the same flow, with the same logic we are doing. And definitely, if it's working and there is no surprises, no issues, it will just remove this one for us. So we can use the data table directly from the Apex defined resource we created. Hopefully, I have to test it and see it working, but that's my understanding that we may be able to remove the transformer. So it will simplify the flow for you even more. Thank you so much, everyone who joined. Again, I see new faces on the session today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you are not overwhelmed. We have everything on YouTube, beginner series, intermediate series. Everything is explained in depth, in easy way. And I'm happy to repeat anything you want and answer any questions you have. So I hope to see you again. Don't like run away. And if you have any questions, reach out to me on Code with Sally Slack or LinkedIn. And I'm excited for the next topic. What we'll be exploring as a quick peek will be working still with the invocable method, but we'll see how we can access it from template. So we'll have a quick look on prompt templates. We are not explaining them in depth. I hope you have some knowledge or attended Salesforce Now sessions and have some background, but we'll try to cover it as much as we can, and we'll see how we can benefit from invocable method and use them in prompt templates. Invocable methods are powerful, and they started to have more and more use cases for them. So I want to cover as much as I can with you. So hopefully that's an interesting topic, and hopefully I will have you with me next time. And thank you so much for listening and watching the session online. And I will see you next week on Saturday.